So how do I do this? Sometimes I twist by hand, and sometimes I twist with a little machine. This is a hair twister, and it goes in one direction and it goes in the other direction. So these are hard to find these days, but if you find them, make sure that they go in both directions, because you want the S twist and the Z twist, and that's important. And I'm going to show you how to put beads onto the fringe so that you would end up with something like this with beaded fringe. And there's an easy way to do this. Okay. I work on a quilter's mat, and I will line up the edge of my cloth on one of the lines and weight that down. And I'm working with, I think it's about a 6/0 bead. You just need a bead that's large enough that you can slip at least one of your warp threads through. I usually like to use 2. These are a little chunky, but we're using these because they're more visible. And you can buy these at a lot of bead suppliers and Joann Fabrics, fabric stores, and craft stores. But you need something that's large enough. Sometimes a 10/0 bead, the larger the number on your bead, the smaller the hole. I'm going to demonstrate putting beads on fringe now. I'm going to be using a dental floss butler loop that you can get near the toothpaste at just about any store. These are very convenient for beading fringe. They're very transparent, so buy the whole pack. I'm picking up my beads from a little saucer here. And I usually use 3 to 5 beads. And I'm going to go over and separate out 2 of my tencel threads, warp threads, and I'm going to insert it through the loop and just slide the beads onto the 2 warp ends. Randomly separate those out, and I'm going to divide my group in half. I had 10 warp threads in my block, so I'm going to do 5 and 5. And use the twister. I can pop those little hooks up with my finger. And I'll grab those. I'm going to stretch back. It's not under a lot of tension, but it's just stretched out. And I'm going to go in one direction, and I'm watching it twist all the way up to the fabric. And once it's twisted all the way up to the top, I stop, and then I go the opposite direction. Pull that off, and I will do an overhand knot right on the 2nd inch mark on my mat. And that way I know this fringe is 7 inches long. And when I do subsequent groups, I will also do the overhand knot at 7 inches. And that way I know that my fringe is going to be the same length, or very close to the same length all the way across. I'll demonstrate one more twist. I'm sliding my cotton binder out 10 threads at a time. So I leave it in on all the other stripes that I'm not working on yet. and that keeps everything neat and tidy. So I'm going to separate this into 5 threads each. I'll get the 2 warp ends that I'm going to be putting the beads on all set. And I'll pick up, this time, I might pick up a different number. I will put 5 on here. Okay, so I've loaded my looper. I'm going to put the threads right through there, and I'm going to slide those on. And randomly position those. Okay, and I'm ready for this. You can do this by hand, and I will show you how to twisted fringe by hand. And a simple overhand knot right at the same place. Okay, if I'm twisting by hand, or there are also manual twisters available, those work fine as well. I'm just going to twirl these in the same direction. Once again, I'm watching the fell of the cloth. I want to be nicely twisted. I twist enough that it twists back on itself. Then I know I'm twisted enough. You can also count the number of turns. And then I put these together and I go the opposite direction. So we have our twisted fringe. Okay. And I did not put beads on this one. And I'm doing a little overhand knot. Okay. I don't trim my tails until I've washed my item. I find that it's better for me to wait to trim these until I'm through that process. When I do go to trim these, because I'm not going to take this through the wet finishing for you, I use another quilting tool, and I will use this plexiglass and a rotary cutter, and when I have them all even, I just slice right through them, and then I'm finished at that point.